I'm John Aljets. We're here at Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2025 at the Atari booth, and I'm talking to David, who's going to show us some of what they've got here at the show. David, what's going on behind us here?
Oh, this is a lot of fun. We announced this at San Diego Comic-Con earlier this year. It's a Pac-Man version of our Atari 2600 Plus. So we started remaking the original hardware about 3 years ago. We came out with something called the 2600 Plus. It takes cartridges. So if you have a bunch of Atari cartridges at home, or you were to go to a used game store, all of them would work. Plays 2600 and 7800 cartridges. Brought that out 3 years ago. It did really, really well. And then last year we came out with something called the 7800 Plus. Functionally the same, but had a different chassis, one that had come out in Europe a few years later. And during this time, we started getting into conversations with the team at Bandai Namco. They were looking for a way to celebrate Pac-Man's 45th anniversary. We were looking for more ways to bring out retro content that's associated with Atari. Pac-Man, so Atari was the first console, it was commercially successful home console, so we kind of brought games into the home. And Pac-Man came out as a cartridge for Atari, and it was the first time Pac-Man was playable at home. Famously, that version was a little wonky. It was like sideways and kind of brown and green, and the sounds weren't right. But still, people have a strong emotional attachment to it. So we worked with Bandai Namco on this special yellow, beautiful version of the 2600 Plus. There's several wireless controllers, joysticks that come in the colors of each of the ghosts. And there's actually 4 games that we've worked with them on. It's Pac-Man Galaga, which is a huge hit in its own right. Xevious and Dig Dug, all fan favorites. So the Pac-Man cartridge has 2 games on it. It has the original 2600 version, because some people love it, some people hate it. And then it's got this new version that Bob DiCrescenzo, who's a 7800 homebrew developer, is at the show, developed for us, and it's this one, and it looks just like the arcade original, and it plays like the arcade original. So that was something that was, particularly special to be able to do an arcade accurate version for the 7800. Bandai Namco was all for it. So this content, this comes out. It ships October 30th. It's available for pre-order on Atari.com and on Amazon. And then also, we have a game collection called Atari 50, the anniversary celebration. It was done by Digital Eclipse, which is a phenomenal retro studio that's part of the Atari family. So we added a DLC that's called the Namco Connection, and it also has those games. So if you want to play on a cartridge, there's a cartridge-based solution, but if you want to play on an Xbox, PlayStation, Switch 2, PC, you can go get that DLC and experience the same games.
So the one thing that immediately jumps out to me, and the thing that I feel like people are going to have questions about, with the game cartridge, would that work on an old 7800?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and for this to make sense, right, everything we felt had to be forward and backward compatible. So not only do all the new games work in it, but the ones in your garage do. Also, the hardware will work. So if you have an old heavy sixer, but you don't have paddles anymore, you want to play Warlords, you buy the new paddles we make and they plug right in and they work, right? Same thing if you want to use a wireless joystick on a console from 1979, plug it in, it's going to work. And same thing, if you have some of the more obscure controllers you want to play, they'll plug right in, because we have both the USB and the old TV9. As a matter of fact, this ships with two dongles or receivers. One is for Atari equipment, the other is USB. So if you're into emulation and you want to play with a joystick on your PC, it'll work on your PC as well. So really just trying to make it as accessible. Listen, the goal here, also it's $129, right?
Okay, that's important.
So we could have made a $500, $700 version of this. That doesn't make any sense. It's all about accessibility, getting people to play the games again, or letting new people discover them. Try and make it affordable, but keep the build quality really, really good. And the build quality in this is amazing. Our partner's PlayOn, who does the manufacturing, and we're really having a lot of fun with it. And one of the most rewarding things is we've created this a bigger installed base for all the homebrew developers. So there were these homebrew developers. So Atari made their last 7800 game in 1990.
Yeah.
Some people say it was Fatal Run. Some people say it was another title. I always go with Fatal Run. In the next 35 years, all these homebrew developers just kept making games for the system. It's an OS, an ecosystem that's never died. So now we're working very closely with the homebrew community, and some of those titles actually get purchased and released as Atari games. Others, are sold through our Atari Age. It's a big community. Our booth is Atari and Atari Age. You had asked about that before. Al DeRusso, who runs Atari Age, has 110 homebrew games for sale here. That's a lot of content, really, really great stuff. And if you go over to Audacity, which is a booth in the 400s, you can talk to Dan and Gary Kitchener, who were the founders of Activision, who have come back after years of doing other things to start making games for the 2600 again. Like it's a great renaissance, super fun to be part of.
I think, to me, that's one of the things that I find really exciting is the fact that people are still making games for old hardware.
Oh, yeah.
And still, pushing, I know that, there's a ton of games out there, especially for the Atari 2600. Now, with these newer systems, the internal hardware, are we working with, an FPGA system? What are we doing?
No, this is emulation. So we're using 2 different types of emulation, one for 2600, one for 7800. We've maxed compatibility. So when we first launched it, we may have been about 98% compatibility. We've worked really hard. Every time somebody comes on Atari Age and says, I found a game that doesn't work, we figure out how to make it work. The only cartridges that don't work are some of the more modern cartridges that have added memory or they're physically different. An FPGA version of this in the future is not out of the question, but to get something in the hands of everyone at $129, emulation was the smoothest road, and it covers, as I said, the vast majority of consoles. And 7800, the thing about the 7800 family of games is that you can do more with them. So the machine plays both 2600 and 7800. So we've ported some fairly complicated games. We rebuilt Tiger Heli, which was an arcade game that kind of made it all the way up to PS2, I think. Never been on an Atari cartridge before, and PlayOn found a good developer to just rebuild it. Now we've released Tiger Heli. It's one of our most popular cartridges. People are hungry for new content, and the 7800 programming environment gives them, they can push it pretty far. What Dan and Gary are doing with having all sorts of different gameplay loops in a single cartridge, it's awesome. Totally worth checking out.
One thing, obviously, when you're buying a piece of hardware that people do care about is support from the company. We've seen in the past with a lot of retro projects where a company will release something and then there's if it breaks, tough luck. There's no support. You're not going to be able to get any help for it. Will people be able to expect some support for a while with these systems? Will they be able to will they still be good to go for a while?
I think it's a fair question. And when we talk about the Intellivision, we can kind of talk about that exact scenario. Listen, each brand, each company, they approach it their own way, right? Some retro brands really are only interested in bringing their content out in limited, highly curated ways on modern consoles. That's fine. It's what they do. We're much more about physical media, the retro consoles, although we do have, obviously, we make a lot of games and collections for PC and console. But when it comes to this, for us, as I said, it's an ecosystem that's been around, and we're going to keep investing in it. We're 3 years into this. We're starting to look at making different types of controllers. Wireless. Imagine a wireless trackball and things like that. If you want to play Centipede, you want to play it with a trackball. So we're looking at some games require a keypad. This is something that we're committed to. It's not a one and done. There are a lot of one and done consoles out there, often when they kind of have built-in content and you can't expand them at all. Those are often designed a little less of a build quality. They're designed to come in, but cheaper. And there's a time and a place for that. You buy one of those things for the holidays, everybody plays it over Christmas, and then you never take it out again. Yeah. You got a good weekend out of it, that's cool. But this is not that. This is something that you can continue to play and collect games and use, for years to come. It's really well made, and we're staying behind it.
Okay, so we saw the 2600 Plus. Now we're over here, we're looking at something that people might not have expected to see at an Atari booth.
Yeah, no doubt, no
It's
doubt.
an Intellivision.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what this is doing here.
Our mortal enemy, right? So Atari acquired the rights to the Intellivision brand and the vast majority of the game catalog about a year ago, and kind of moved very quickly to get some new hardware out. We're big fans. When the news came out, it was like the end of the first console war happened, finally like 30, 40 years later. But yeah, it's got a great game collection. Intellivision was known for its sports and strategy games. A lot of people grew up with it. My little secret is that I grew up with an Intellivision in my house, although I played a lot of Atari. Yeah, exactly. Well, now it's okay. I can tell people. It's a great system. So what we did, we just took the lessons from the 2600. Listen, it's got to go out HDMI. Let's figure out how to add wireless. So it's a well-built new version of the Intellivision. It's the first Intellivision hardware since the flashback came out in 2013, which frankly, was okay. This is a strong machine. It's got the wireless controllers, and as we were saying, the controllers are really unique. They use these overlays over a series of buttons. So the controls for each game are really colorful and very specific to that game. So this combination of the disc and the bubble buttons and the side buttons, which is one of the reasons that the sports games are so much fun, because the disc is great for directional motion, but you still get the complexity. So the football game, football game from the early 80s, 160 different offensive plays, right? Even though there's only 5 players on the screen, because so it's cool. And the strategy game, same thing. A lot of depth for a game from that era. But yeah, it was announced here at PRG, which is fitting. And a lot of the Intellivision fans come by to check it out. It's available now on Atari.com and Amazon for pre-order, and it ships December 5th. So it's going to come out. It'll be out in the mail before Christmas.
So this system, I believe, does this use cartridges or?
This one does not. This one does not. You can add more games over time via USB, sort of side load them. A cartridge-based system might be in our future. We love physical media, but this, we were excited to get something out, and kind of like the flashback from 2013. I mean, I think this is really for a lot of Intellivision fans, this is going to be a positive experience. And then we can, work with the homebrew community on USB loading your games, and then start to look at potentially other, the Intellivision had lots of interesting add-ons, and then also maybe one day a cartridge-based system. As I said, this is just the first step for us. One
thing that when I think of the Intellivision, I think of the voice module.
Yeah.
Is there support for those games?
This is where I'm over my skis, because I just saw this for the first time yesterday.
Okay.
And I wish my head of hardware was here. He'll be here a little later. But I do believe there is some built-in compatibility for certain peripherals because of the connectors we use. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But
to be determined.
Yeah, come online, because I'm sure that information's on the website, and it's going to be added. The Intellivision forums and boards have been exploding with questions. So when I get back to my office on Tuesday, I'm going to be in the forums answering the questions.
Because if I'm playing B-17 Bomber and it's not talking to me, it's just not the same.
It's awesome. B-17 Bomber. I was playing it a bit yesterday. 100%. I mean, it was a really interesting solution, and they really tried to push Atari's buttons to come up with things that they knew Atari didn't do. And they had the George Clinton ads. It was kind of like, I don't know, for folks who didn't grow up with it, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC, remember that ad campaign?
Yeah.
That was essentially what it was. It was this really long, they came right at Atari. And that kind of competition spurs creativity with game development and hardware development. So now we're just kind of glad to pull it all together and be able to bring it back out. Yeah.
It's pretty wonderful. I was just really surprised to see this here. I was like, somebody screwed up.
Exactly. Atari pulled a fast one. Yeah, it's funny. It's very funny. I mean, I think some people perhaps may never get over it, but we have. We at Atari are over it and ready to celebrate the Intellivision as much as we do the Atari.
So yeah, you saw it here. End of the first console war.
Yeah, right in front of your face.
Finally, after all this time. So if you do want to check this stuff out, we'll have links to this down in the description box below so that you can go ahead and check it out. Dave, thank you so much. Thank you for talking to us. This has been brilliant.